Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about The Man from Toronto. The Man from Toronto is an American action comedy that tells the story of Teddy Jackson, a salesman who repeatedly fails in trying to establish a fitness business idea. He decides to go on vacation with his wife to an Airbnb cottage in Virginia when he's mistaken for the identity of a hitman known as the Man from Toronto. The two eventually connect and are forced to team up, as the hitman's clients mistake Teddy for the Man from Toronto. As they go about their duties, the pair learn of an evil plot conducted by Puerto Rican forces and have to race against time in trying to stop it, while engaging in various hijinks along the way. This is a movie where I can understand why it got so many negative reviews, but I personally didn't find it all that bad. It definitely has a lot of problems and is quite generic, but the performances of the lead characters help make it more watchable. Kevin Hart's role as Teddy is pretty much the same as any other comedy he starred in recent years. He does a lot of yelling, fast-paced speeches, and goofy facial expressions to get the humor across, which fits the persona of someone who's out of his element quite well, although his wimpiness tended to be exaggerated. His sales pitch failures and how he's labeled as Teddying things up do make him more sympathetic as well, although not to any serious degree. Ultimately, one's enjoyment of Hart's character will depend on whether or not they're a fan of his style of comedy, and for the most part, I found his energetic mannerisms to be pretty funny. Woody Harrelson stars as the Man from Toronto, and I have to say, he really surprised me with this one. He's much more of a no-nonsense, all-business kind of guy, which proved to be refreshing whenever Teddy starts to become a bit overbearing. Not only is his dry sense of humor a lot of fun, but it's also nice that he has a fair bit of backstory behind him beyond just being another gun for hire. It's not deep by any means, but it makes his character more interesting, along with the dynamic between him and Teddy. Speaking of which, their buddy cop-like relationship is what helps keep this movie afloat. Their opposite personalities with how they start off arguing and then bond over time are typical for this kind of movie, but it still provides enjoyably familiar entertainment, and the way they play off each other's strengths makes it even better. It also helps that both characters have some common ground between them in dealing with the fear of failure, with Teddy afraid of disappointing his wife, while the Man from Toronto is worried about opening a restaurant. Again, it's all very basic and ordinary in approach, but it does help in fleshing out their dynamic and gives them a goal to pursue outside of their mission. The angle surrounding Teddy pretending to be the Man from Toronto tends to get silly at best and downright ridiculous at worst. Most of it is in good fun, and it's hilarious to see Teddy juggle between being menacing and terrified all in the same scene. However, the movie relies on this gimmick a bit too much, and so it starts to become stale. The bad guys never seem to be suspicious of Teddy's true nature, despite obvious hints leading toward it. And while this does lead to some amusing misunderstandings, it also leads to increasingly annoying scenarios that escalate and make it hard to accept what's happening at face value. This mistaken identity storyline extends to supporting characters as well, specifically regarding Teddy's wife Lori. It strikes me as odd that she never asks any hard questions about Teddy's mysterious whereabouts, despite him ending up in numerous places over the course of the story. There's a lot of potential for comedic situations in this regard that are never taken full advantage of. On top of this, her character and the whole romance angle surrounding her is very bland. She's assigned a handler named Santoro by the FBI who supervised Teddy on his mission, and the movie barely does anything with him. I kept waiting for romantic tension to boil between them, and it never happened, resulting in another wasted opportunity. Putting that aside, the movie is fairly competent and focused on being a comedy. It consists of slapstick, usually directed toward Teddy, a bevy of funny lines, and the polar opposite dynamic of the lead characters. I didn't laugh at every single joke in it, but the ones where I did were quite memorable. My favorite moment was when Teddy's in the middle of interrogating a subject while posing as the hitman, and all of a sudden one of the bad guys in the room shouts, "The Man from Toronto!" at the top of his lungs. The way the line is delivered and Teddy's reaction to it took me so much by surprise that I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This being said, the amount of dialogue used in some scenes can be excessive, and there's a fair bit of toilet humor, one scene involving vomit, that I didn't really care for. Most of the movie is lighter fare that is more enjoyable by comparison, but the movie has its moments where it tries too hard to be funny and ends up falling flat in their execution. Thankfully, most of the bad humor is balanced out by the entertainment value of the action scenes. The set pieces are good, especially when they involve brawls that have lots of great stunt work and choreography used throughout. One standout scene even looked like it was filmed in a long take, and although I'm not 100% sure if it was or not, it still looked seamless. Anything that had to do with explosions, though, was a mess. The practical effects look decent enough, but when they involve CGI, it just looks awful, like Liam Neeson Ice Road levels of awful. I almost wonder if most of this movie's budget went toward the salaries of the lead actors, because I can't think of any other reason as to why some of the effects can look so bad. On a similar note, I also find it weird that the movie features a hitman who's known for his methods of torture, and yet the entire movie is tame PG-13 material. I know the movie wasn't made by Netflix, so there probably wasn't as much creative freedom behind this aspect, but it's disappointing nonetheless. The variety of hitmen and the handler managing all of them does make up for this area a bit. Even though those characters are mostly stereotypes, they help expand the movie's world with its numerous settings and add to the impressive stunt work, a lot of which is carried by the man from Miami, who made for an excellent antagonist. As intriguing as all the villains can be though, I have to be honest and say that even after watching this movie, I still don't understand the villain's plot at all. It has something to do with a Puerto Rican politician who barely appears in the movie, an embassy being built, and some sort of bomb being made, and none of it ever adds up to a consistent whole. Action movies aren't necessarily known for riveting stories, but it would have been nice if it at least had some focus in this area. It seems for every good thing this movie gets right, there's another thing or something else related to the first that's bad, and it all adds up to one big mixed bag. Overall, The Man from Toronto is an average action comedy flick that is both fun and frustrating with how it carries out both parts of its genre. If you like funny action movies and you just want to turn your brain off and have a fun evening, I think you'd enjoy this movie. There's certainly worse ones out there that could be watched. If it hadn't been for Hart and Harrelson's performances, this movie likely wouldn't have been worth mentioning, but as it stands now, it's not terrible. It's a nice distraction that gave me a handful of chuckles while watching it, so as pure entertainment goes, it does succeed to a certain degree. What did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy seeing Hart and Harrelson playing opposites with each other, or did it fall short with its comedy and action? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of The Man from Toronto. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Norwegian sci-fi, Blasted. Bye bye!